have here is an FTG 600 or 800. They will both look the same. We do have the front cover removed. There are service access panels on the sides of the boiler. Those have been removed just to help with lighting so you can see a little better. Down bottom here, we've got the boiler control box. So this is where the boiler control is housed. You can see some relays here. These are used for your pump outputs. The transformer, 24-volt transformer in here. Normally this would be covered. It has a removable metal shield or cover that goes over top of it. And let's get right into doing some service on this. So this is the burner door. You're going to have a door like this in the front and the back of the boiler. We'll show you the back in a moment. And the cleaning process, regardless of the size, is going to be about the same. You are going to have to disconnect the gas line up here. We'll give you a shot of that in just a second. Remove the combustion blower fan. You're going to take this piece off here. This is called the extended air tube. Set that all to one side. Then you're going to take off the burner plate and to get access to the combustion chamber. So before we go too much further, we're going to give you a quick look at what we're doing up top here. We'll pause the video and then show you the next step. So up at the top of the unit here, this is your gas valve back here. You can see my hands on the gas valve. There's a manual shutoff inside the cabinet. You're going to want to make sure that's shut off. This is a gas connection to a gas high pressure switch that comes built into the FTG product. And then attached to the boiler venturi, so this is our blower right here, and this is the venturi. We've got these 4 bolts here. This is what attaches the venturi blower assembly to the rest of the gas line. So we're going to start by removing these 4 screws. There's a cork gasket in there. You'll want to make sure that you don't lose that or that it's in good condition. Typically it's reusable at least once or twice. That being said, we do sell gasket cleaning kits, so if you think you need it, get that first. Okay, so I've removed these 4 screws. We'll take the last one out. That's going to allow the gas line to come loose. In the field, this will typically be supported by the gas connection, and you just let the weight of the valve hang on the gas pipe. Before you remove that, you want to push on this little blue connector on this white tubing and remove the white tube from the valve so that you don't put any strain on it, and just let the valve sit off to one side. Now that you've got the gas line disconnected, we're going to move back to the front of the boiler. So we're now back in front, and on the smaller units, so the smaller units being the 600, 800, and then all the way up to essentially everything a little smaller than the 2000, so up to the 1600, they all use this same combustion blower assembly. So what we're actually going to do, we're not going to disassemble anything up top there. You'll want to make sure any wires that are connected to your combustion blower fan are disconnected. You're going to take off the 6 nut connections that hold this extended air tube to the front of the burner door. We'll get these off. Make sure to keep the washers. There's 2 washers on each one. There's a lock washer along with a standard flat washer. And lastly, we'll take the bottom one off. The way the studs are arranged on the door here, it effectively holds this blower assembly in place. So it's not just going to suddenly fall off. So now that we've got that out of the way, quick double check to make sure there's no wires connected. We've disconnected the tubing that goes to the gas line. So now you're going to pick up this assembly. And if you're careful, that will just pull right out of the boiler. So you just gently fish that out of there. Watch that the wires here don't get snagged up on this. It's an easy mistake to make, and of course it tends to rip the wires out fairly quickly. Disconnect our rubber tubing and fish this guy right out. So you're going to take off the whole blower, venturi, air inlet assembly all as one big piece with this extended air tube. That saves you a little bit of disassembly time. Set that to one side. With the FTGs, you're unlikely to have as big a problem with flue gas recycling, and if you do have it, it will be obvious. You'll have noticed when I took that off, there's a big red air filter. The FTG uses sealed cabinet, so it is sucking air from outdoors via the cabinet. If you're recycling flue gases heavily, you're going to see damage inside the cabinet. You'll see all this galvanized steel will turn white and powdery looking. You'll have heavy corrosion. All these connectors will start to discolor and turn yellow. So if you're seeing that, you're getting flue gas in the cabinet, it's a bad sign. Find the source. Now that you've got the extended air tube and the blower off, you can actually access the center of the burner itself. As long as the air cleaner remains clean, you should never really have to service the inside of the burner. Any fine particulate will get caught in the filter. There really shouldn't be anything in here, but we will want to remove it before we take the door off. So we're going to take off this nut and then we're going to remove the burner. So we'll finish removing the jam nut at the bottom of the burner here, and you can see the burner on this unit is starting to come out on its own. On the smaller units, the burner is just going to come out like this one. On the large units, the 2.2 and or 2 million, 2.4 million, the burner actually has a bolt that goes through the back of the burner door on the back side that you have to undo first, so you can't just pull it out. So the burner itself, you just remove it from the center of the chamber. Again, there shouldn't be anything in here. The air filter should take care of that. Look at the outside of it. You want to make sure there's no cracking. None of this fiber material is flaking or breaking off or pulling away. As long as it looks good, just set it to one side. You don't really have to do much. Now that you've got the boiler this far, before you take the next step and get right in there and clean it, take your phone or your, in this case, your webcam, and you can have a look. So you can have a look inside the combustion chamber by just sort of sticking your phone in there, or it's a little bit too small for your head, but certainly you can see in there quite well. If at this point you don't see any reason to go any further, you can just put the boiler back together and effectively we're good to go. If you do need to get in there and clean it, that's when you'll want to remove all these nuts. These are all bolts, so we'll take this off in just a moment. So you're going to remove all these and then take off this whole door assembly. So we'll get the wires off, and from there you just undo each of these. So we'll take one off and show you that. So this is a nut and a bolt. It's a pass-through, and there's a little plastic grommet that's in there. And what you're going to be taking off is an assembly that looks like this. And of course there's all of them on the outside, so you need to take them all off and set them to one side. So it's best just to sort of thread them together like this so none of the pieces get lost. The little spacer is there so that you don't over tighten this and bend the door in some fashion, or cause it to over compress the gasket. So keep these little plastic spacers. They are there for a reason. And so what we're going to do is take this door right off and show you the rest of it. Okay, so we'll get the last screw out here and take our door off the boiler. Again, once you get the door off, you'll want to inspect the refractory inside here. This is a silica textile You will see this material. In some cases it may actually get perforated or burned through. The important part is the white ceramic that's underneath it. You can see it's a fairly thick gasket. The insulation is actually the white stuff. This silica textile is here to hold everything together. You've got your flame rod and your igniter, and of course the door there. While you've got this off, this has a nice big clear peephole on these. It's a good idea just to give it a clean, just to make sure you can see through it. It does help with diagnosis if you're having a problem with combustion sometimes. So your burner gasket and the refractory are all one piece on this boiler, and we'll just give you another shot inside the combustion chamber, and you can see inside there. Now we've already removed the back, but I will take you around the back side of the boiler just to show you a couple little things quickly. So we're now in behind the FTG. Up top here you've got your gas connection. You can see the knockouts for your low voltage wiring, knockouts for the high voltage wiring on the other side. You've got your boiler supply up here using a groove lock joint. And these panels in the back here are all intended to be removable so that you can access the boiler for servicing. So we can take off the panel, and you can actually see straight through our boiler all the way to the other side. This is so that for the larger units you can get in here and clean the back of the boiler, unless you've got sort of 5-foot long arms. On the biggest unit you're not going to be able to reach, so you need access to the back. The other thing you'll want to look at is in the rear you've got another burner door. This door obviously does not have a hole for the burner, although you can see where the burner does press up against it. If you have the 2.4 million or the 2.2 million, you are going to have a bolt that goes through the center here, and that's to support the burner. The burner on that boiler is almost 6 feet long. If it didn't have a bolt in the back here, you run the risk that it would basically sag under the heat and get damaged. So on the largest one, there is a bolt that goes through here. Other things to take note of in the back, down bottom here we've got the flue outlet with your flue gas test port, condensate drain at the very bottom, along with a little bracket for holding the condensate tubing that comes with the boiler, and again your groove lock return fitting, and then a plug for the condensate pump. So that concludes the section on cleaning the FTG boiler.